laughable now when I think about it, but I just didn't click with anybody. I just, kept myself to myself, didn't speak to people. But it wasn't just that, it was like an anxiety thing as well.
Right.
So not only did I not like talking to people, I then struggled to talk to people.
Welcome to Curious Chats and Kind Acts, the podcast that celebrates difference, kindness, and the little things we can all do to make our world a better place. Join me, your host, Sonia, co-founder of the Axe Charity, for some open, authentic and fun conversations with lots of interesting, extraordinary, everyday people who are all a little bit different. Prepare to have your curiosity piqued and your heart warmed as we explore the ways we can all make a difference in the world, no matter how small. So get ready to be inspired, uplifted and motivated to be the kindest version of yourself. Let's make the world a kinder place, one conversation at a time.
Hello there, how are you doing today? In today's episode, I'm interviewing Anthony. We'll be discussing his struggles with mental health, gambling and his relationships. He also speaks about a social enterprise called Wilderness Tribe. And for more info, maybe have a listen to the episode we did with Tom. Just a couple of trigger warnings. We do talk about suicide and gambling today, so just to give you a heads up. I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome, Anthony, to our podcast, and thank you for inviting me to your space. We are in a garden, I guess, in Ellesmere Port, with a fire going. There's lots of plants being grown, and we're in like a little shelter. It's cosy and warm even though it's miserable outside. Some bird feeders, really peaceful. That's what I'm getting from here, even though we're surrounded by a housing estate. It's really quiet.
Nice.
So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Anthony. Come here quite often to spend a lot of time here on a Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, and it's a nice place to chill.
Happy days. So, is it okay if we just talk a little bit about, we'll go right back to the start if that's alright, talk
Okay.
about your journey and then
Yeah.
talk a bit about kindness as we go along.
Right.
So, how were you as a child?
I'm not sure really. I think I was quite shy. Wasn't like into football and things like that up until sort of 9, 10. So I used to like play with girls in school and all that type of stuff. And so my high school was quite a rough high school. It was the type of one where all the other kids that get thrown who've been thrown out of the other local schools. Primary school, as far as I can remember, was okay. Don't really. I was bullied a little bit at school, but don't really remember it affecting me too much. Maybe the odd time. But high school, I got away with high school because I played football with all the rougher lot.
Okay.
So I was like the typical in-betweener.
Yeah.
I knew all the hard lads, if you want to put it that way, like outside of school, because I played football with them at the weekend.
Okay.
So I was sort of in a bit more of a protective bubble, but my mates weren't from that group. We were from we were a lesser,
Yeah.
lesser social group, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, it was rough. To be fair, it wasn't the nicest of school. It was a rough ride.
But you
We
did enough to get to uni.
Got through it. Got to uni.
Yeah. So
Which
you
was-
got A levels there as well, I assume.
So we went to Priestley College then in Warrington, A levels. Just had to travel there every day. College, I have effectively eradicated out of my mind. It's one of the things, and I've spoken about this to other people, that I don't know whether it was like at our age and you're just growing up in it, but I can't really remember it. Like, maybe it was a couple of years and it was a lot of travelling and early mornings, late nights, getting stuck on the bus in traffic, and it was just in the middle of winter, and it was just not a nice experience. But again, we persevered and got through it, and that set us up for uni, really. Yeah. And that, to be honest, going to uni and like only living in Runcorn, but going to Chester, it was just a good way of moving out of Runcorn and not getting stuck in a rut or going down the wrong path and that sort of thing. Yeah.
And did you have opportunities in Runcorn to go down the wrong path, or?
I know people who weren't on that path who ended up going down the wrong path, so in hindsight you just never know, do you? But possibly, yeah. Well, there was no like further education opportunities or like good job prospects because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and still don't really. But I feel like if I'd have stayed there, it was just one of them towns that people don't leave.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I like to experience
Yeah,
different things.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
So what did you study at Chester?
Marketing.
Oh, okay.
I went to. My intention was to study English and journalism, and I couldn't say that course because the lectures backed onto each other on 2 different campuses. Now you'd think that those 2 things would go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, one lecture finished at 12, the other one started at 10 past, so I couldn't do it. So I ended up going and doing marketing because that's what my mates did,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, so I ended up doing that. I hated every second of it.
Oh, did you?
I hated it. It just was not me at all. I'm not like a rat race type of person. Everybody else who was there, like, once we got to the point where you were looking at like employment or going on like placement years, you know, they were all desperate to get out there, and like, you know, the type of people you see on The Apprentice.
Yeah.
Not me. Not my cup of tea. I got through it by completing many lectures with minutes to spare and sitting up all night. I did my dissertation in 4 days. I basically went to the library on a Monday and stayed in there until the Friday. I handed it in, and just, I think they passed me out with sympathy. I got like so you needed 42%, I got like 42.5.
Perfect.
Like,
Just
so
enough
I
to get
was
you through.
out of there. Uni was alright. I wasn't really a sociable person, so I didn't necessarily make many mates while I was at uni. I know a couple, but not loads.
Did you commute in from Runcorn, or were you living?
No, so we lived in Chester.
Okay.
Yeah, so I lived there. So we lived in student halls the first year.
Yeah.
It was alright. It is what it is.
It's sounding so far that your whole life's been alright. Got through it.
Yeah, to be fair, it's only really, honestly, in the last like 4 or 5 months, I'd say, where I'm genuinely happy with where I am. Or what I'm doing.
I'm excited to get to that point.
The rest of it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're at. You finished uni.
Mm.
What did you get up to after uni?
So, me and my ex-partner, kid's mum, so we moved to Hanbridge.
And so did you meet at uni? How did
No,
you
we
meet?
met in school. So we were together from
Oh,
school.
wow.
Yeah, so we met in high school. We met in the last year of high school, went to college together, went to uni together. We split up just before we went to uni. We'd never seen each other for a few months. She lived in the hallway opposite, and we just did not cross paths at all. We didn't bump into each other, and then we bumped back into each other basically one night, and then that was it. Then a few weeks later we were back together, so that was cool. Yeah. So we were together when she was 15, I was 16, so we were in the same school year, and we were just
That's
together,
incredible.
together since, up until last year, and it just petered out really.
Yeah.
Different things happen, don't they?
Yeah. So we are living in Hanbridge.
Yeah, I live in Hanbridge, so we had my first boy 2015.
So is
that
that
happened?
just after uni?
So I think she must have got pregnant around the end of 2014. So yeah, just after uni.
Yeah.
Like, you know, to be fair, we both wanted kids,
Yeah.
and like we both wanted to have them like quite young, really. So it just worked, and then we were there for like 12 months. But where we lived, we couldn't. We were the youngest people there by some years.
Yeah.
Like it was in some flat. So, but we had to move. So we ended up moving into Blaken. But Hanbridge was good. Yeah, I used to love living there. It's a nice place, isn't it?
Yeah, close to town.
Yeah, I worked in town, so it was a nice walk.
Yeah.
Down the river.
And what was your job after uni then? Was that?
I worked at William Hill in the bookies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I was there for 7 years. So I didn't like the job. I liked the walk. So I used to stand on the bridge contemplating whether there's a phone in sick. So I was watching the river. But yeah.
But you did it for 7 years, even though you didn't like it.
Yeah, it was easy. I knew what I was doing. I was good at it. People used to like come to me for help, and I put up with it for a long time, longer than I should have, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, like I wasn't aware of. Like now, people are aware of like mental health and things, and I am.
Yeah.
Like, that's a big part. That's a big thing for me now. And but even 12 months ago, 18 months ago, I'd have laughed that sort of thing off as it's not me.
Yeah.
But like I've changed a lot. And when I look back now, even just how I spoke to other people and things during those times, like, it just wasn't very nice. But that's what it was. Like it was,
we are who we are at that time, aren't we?
And it just wasn't something I was aware of, really.
Yeah. So you had your firstborn. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. That was traumatic, to say the least.
How come?
Oh, it was a traumatic pregnancy, traumatic birth,
Really?
the whole shebang. Yeah, it was a big one. Yeah. Leading up to the birth was traumatic anyway. I met like the mum. She doesn't do summer. She's this time of year now. When it's like this is when she like comes alive.
Okay.
She likes the autumn when it's cold and wet and damp and all that sort of stuff.
That's
So,
quite unusual,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's,
It's normally the other way
yeah.
round.
So I'm very much the other way around.
Oh,
Like, I tend to struggle this time of year when the light goes,
Yeah.
and she used to like come alive in
Yeah.
this time of year, and she can start like decorating for Halloween and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So she really struggled with the pregnancy because there was a few days towards the end where it was like 32 degrees, 30 degrees, and like I didn't drive at the time either, so that was hard, you know, because you had to walk to get everything.
Yeah.
Like that's like a first world problem as such, but you know, at the time it was tough because we didn't have family in Chester and things, so like, apart from maybe every couple of weeks someone would come and visit, we didn't have anyone else to turn to really, so we were on our own. But yeah, we got by. She had the struggles and stuff, but we got through it, and then we moved to Blaken. Not to be fair, we moved to Blaken only a couple of months after Callum was born, because we had to move out. I can't really remember much about moving. It was all a whirlwind, you know, lack of sleep, moving house, and all that sort of stuff that piles in at once. But yeah.
And did you find any community in Blaken?
No, not really. To be honest, I did not like living there either. See, there's a theme of me not liking things. I've never, honestly, you have to get up until like about 5 months ago, maybe 12 months ago, should I say, when I actually started to appreciate things a bit more and think, oh, I actually do like that.
Yeah.
But I just used to be so negative about everything. It's laughable now when I think about it, but I just didn't click with anybody. I just, kept myself to myself, didn't speak to people. But it wasn't just that, it was like an anxiety thing as well.
Right.
So not only did I not like talking to people, I then struggled to talk to people anyway. So even if somebody would have started a conversation with me, I'd have done everything I could to get away from that conversation.
Yeah.
So, I didn't help myself, to be fair.
Yeah. But even around like school and stuff like that, or not really?
Not really, no.
Yeah.
No, I didn't really speak to so when he got to that point, didn't sort of speak to parents and things like that. But she did that.
Okay.
She did. She's got a lot of friends and stuff now in Blake. It's taken time, obviously. But you get them from going to the school and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't me. But then I try hard enough to speak to people and go all the way to talk to people. And and again, that's a fairly recent thing, to be honest. But it's just the journey, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're in Blaken, you've had Callum. Where are you working? Are you still at the Bookies?
Still in the Bookies, yeah.
Did you still walk there? 'Cause that's quite a walk now.
I did most of the time, walk, bus, or cycled in phases.
Yeah.
Because it's all uphill.
Oh.
So, you do that for a little bit and then it gets to you after a while. Yeah, but I used to work, it was horrible hours, it wasn't nice. You're working on your own, you're working 7 till 10 o'clock at night. So I was the manager of the shop, so you had to cover the shop if no one was working, and it was all stress. Not very nice people, and then I got into gambling, to be honest, and I never used to gamble. Well, I used to have 50p accumulated every week on the football or something, and then I got into the Bookies and I started gambling gradually over time, more and more and more.
So is that because of the Bookies? What made you start thinking?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
It's gone from 50p to how did that?
So I never used to gamble a lot, but I never used to gamble big stakes on their own. I'd put £2 on, but 100 times. You know what I mean?
Right.
Over
Okay.
a period, and you might win some back and then you lose it and things. So you never win anyway, but I could never win because the stakes I was putting on would never return the money I was spending.
But you knew that because of where you worked, and you still did it.
Still did it. Yeah.
Why?
Addiction, isn't it? That's what it does to you in the end. It gets you. The thing is with gambling, it's people don't realise you're doing it. I'm working in a Bookies, and what's mad is I used to say this to people while still doing it myself, that you could go outside the Bookies and stop 50 people and ask them if they have a bet, and they'd all say either no or once a year on the Grand National.
Yeah.
But because you're sitting there every day and you see the same people every day, it becomes normal. It's normalised because you just assume that everyone does it because you see these people constantly coming in and out every day and they're all gambling.
Yeah.
But they're not the normal. They're a minority.
Yeah.
Who have all got 90%, 95% of all would have had an issue, but you're surrounded by it. So it's all you talk about. You go to work, you're just talking about gambling, you're taking bets. It wasn't a great period of my life. So I left and went and worked at Tesco for a bit, and I was only there for 3 months because that was, to be honest, even worse. But my gambling got worse when I left.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
So I don't know. I think it was because I wasn't watching it all day.
Right, yeah.
That's when it's get your fix in at lunchtime. But I used to have an hour break and I'd be gone for 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And I'd get away with it because I was good at my job.
Yeah.
I'd help out, do you know what I mean?
And where did you go for those 2.5 hours?
I'd spin the Bookies.
A different bookies?
That'd be a different one. Yeah, so you're not allowed to gamble in the bookies you work
Oh, aren't
in.
you?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No. So yeah, being a different one, just across the road or around the corner.
And putting your £2 bets on?
Just putting little bets on there, all constantly playing on the machine. You go in with like 20 quid, put a couple of bets on, put a couple of quid in the machine and things like that. Yeah. And yeah, I remember times being stood at the bus stop with £1.80 for my bus fare home, and I'd be like, I'll see if I can win a bit more and spend it, and then have to walk home. I just used to make excuses for being late back and stuff all the time.
And where did you get the money from to do that, even though they're only £2 bets? Did that accumulate?
Well, it was obviously wages. Didn't have a lot of outgoings at the time. We did some shopping. Send me 30 quid. And I'd spend 20 and take the 10 in the bookies. Like, and it's really, thinking back now, it's just absolute insanity. Like, insanity, but you know, it's part of the story, isn't it? So yeah, it wasn't good, but yeah, we did it. And then overdraft as well. Started my student overdraft, so I was just stuck in that for years. Couldn't get out of that because I just spent it.
So you'd go to the end of your overdraft?
Yeah, like a couple of grand, yeah. And then the wages would come and you'd be a few hundred in, and then you just spend it all.
So you're just in this cycle almost.
Yeah. And then I tried to get myself out of it by, so I took out the loan to get out of the overdraft, and I think I managed it quite well. But I still gambled a lot, more than I should have. I went on for a long time, like really long time, and I got some help for that last year. So I stopped gambling anyway once. I used to gamble online, I mean, relentlessly, like again, not a lot, but just bits. And I stopped a good few years ago, and I've still worked at the bookie, so probably going back about 5 years. Like, you can ban yourself everywhere, so I did that. And then I started banning myself from like a few shops, but I'm like, I just keep one open.
How would you ban yourself?
It's called a self-exclusion. So at the time you had to do it like on paper in a shop, but now you can do it like, there's a company that does it. Well, not a company, it's like I assume it's a charity, to be fair, and they do it, and you can just blanket.
So you can't get on to the online sites?
Not to the online ones, no, and then you can do that for going in shops as well. So I did that, but like I always, I'm like, well, I'll just keep one, just in case I fancy about on a Saturday. And that one would be like 15 miles away. So not only was you like spending the money that you shouldn't be spending, you're doing like a 30-mile round trip and spending the fuel money to get there. Like, I just did it all the time. And it was just like an escape thing, really. I think it was just maybe like life was a bit, where it was horrible, and you know, kids at home and things like that, and it was just a way out of the house for a couple of hours.
What I don't understand it, because I've never really gambled, to be honest. Like, what is the addiction? Is it the win, or?
I suppose so, yeah. I suppose it is, and then once you lose, you're just chasing your money, aren't you? Like, it's basically just chasing it. So it's mad. It's just weird, yeah. It's just a weird. The thing is with it though, it's like it's rife. Do you know what I mean? It's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
So it sounds though like you never got into a lot of debt. Like, you were always kind of on the cusp.
Yeah, I always paid all everything was always paid for. It's just that like I'd always be scraping through the month by like saying that a bill had come out that I wasn't expecting, or you know, having to like get a bit of shopping money from Ashley, and we'd be like splitting the money that way and things. And
so I guess there's a bigger picture at play, because it must have, like, you must have been lying quite a lot.
Oh, in those cases, yeah. I don't know when the first time would have been, but obviously it was just little things, you know. Again, like being late back, and you know, the bus was late, or I've had to stay and work for an extra half an hour and things like that. But
and did that not get hard? No,
it never really came up. It never really came up. Like, it was, again, looking back now in hindsight and being a completely different person now, like different mindset. I don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
Because now I would not. Now I'd say something.
Yeah.
Like, I just wouldn't be able to keep it to myself now. But I did, and I don't know whether it was obvious and we just both ignored it, or I don't know.
So did she not really know about?
I don't know. I don't think so. It never really came up.
Yeah.
Maybe it did, and I've just blanked it out. I'm not sure. I don't know.
Did you have separate finances? Yeah.
So like I covered all the bills and stuff, and most of them. And actually, we split things differently. Yeah. So it was never like crossed.
So she didn't actually know how much money were the bills, and
but so it was all paid for, and there was never any issues with bills and things. So there was not really anything that'd highlight it. You know, I was always like switched on enough to make sure all that sort of stuff.
Well, not just switched on. I think in control, actually. Like, you know, like
yeah, that's what. Yeah. So like skipping on a few years. So last year I moved out on my own and I started gambling a bit again because I was bored.
Yeah.
I was on my own. Like, I just basically lost my family as I seen it at the time. There was points where like I was in a very, very bad place and like I started gambling again because there was a bookies around the corner from my house. Like I got to the point where I was like, what? I can't afford to do this. Like, what are you doing? Like, I've got to look after the kids and all that sort of stuff. So I went through GamCare and got like some counselling. I went down that route. And like bought myself again and got the counselling and stuff, and like looking back, it's just little things. Like what helps is when every week someone asks you the question of, have you gambled this week? And that was enough for me.
Yeah.
But after maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe of like, I think it was a 10-week like program, that was embarrassing enough for me to
Right.
stop.
Okay.
And not had a bet since.
Wow.
I've had a bet. So that was like November last year. Not had a bet since.
And that's because is that acknowledging it? Like
It's acknowledging it, it's realising it was stupid. I do other things now that I don't need to fill that time with being in the bookies, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've got so much, I'm busy all the time now, I've got loads going on, it was just filling the time, and that's the same with any addiction, that's one thing I've learned, it's the same with anything, you've got to find something to fill the time with. But yeah, I did it during COVID and stuff as well, like never even crossed my mind to have a bet. But I don't know why, it's one of those things, isn't it? I suppose it's like an ongoing, like if you were an alcoholic or a drug addict or any of those things, I suppose you never know if it'll ever creep back up. I was trying to equip yourself to not fall back into that trap.
And do you think, like from what you've described your life, you weren't particularly enjoying going on?
No, I didn't.
I'm
No,
sure
I didn't.
there were parts.
Well, going back now, just thinking about it, so my dad gambled, so I was around it as a child. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's where it sort of started, but then again, it was just like 50p on the football.
Yeah.
It was different times, wasn't it? So you go to bookies and you'd be stood at the door.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? While he was putting his bets on in the morning.
Yeah.
But like we'd go on holiday and things, and you'd be stood outside the bookies. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember my mum and dad arguing loads of times. Like we were on holiday and we just left outside the bookies while he was having a bet. And it's just when I think about, you think back to it, and I'd never want to put my kids through that situation.
Yeah, there were different times, though,
Different
like
times,
you say.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I didn't think I'd talk about that so much. To be fair, I thought that's one of the. I don't really speak about it very often because I'm sort of.
It's a hard thing to speak about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so, do you think, like, in terms of your addiction, is because you were quite unhappy at the time? Was it your mental?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So, like I said, I didn't acknowledge my mental health as an issue until we split up last year. It was a big thing, obviously, because we've been together for so long. But we had 3 kids, but it had been building for a long time. But again, I would have been the typical like blokey bloke of. If someone said to me, oh, they've got mental health problems, it'd have been, oh, that's like the new bad back. Yeah. Like that's the attitude I would have had, and it's embarrassing to think back like that now.
Yeah.
Like in hindsight, because I've now experienced, my own struggles and stuff. But yeah, we had a really rough couple of years. Like we had COVID really bad when she was like 35 weeks pregnant, and like lost my smell completely.
Yeah.
Like, that went. Couldn't walk properly. I used to go for a run every day. I was working from home. I'd go for like a 25-minute run every day on the lunch.
Yeah.
Couldn't even walk up the stairs.
Wow.
It was horrible. But we always just had really, really bad, bad luck. I just felt like it was just bad luck all the time. So there was always something that went wrong. It was 2021, yeah, so like my youngest was born. And a few weeks later, they ended up in hospital ill. The kids, she was born in November. In December, they both went. My 2 youngest ones ended up in hospital on the same night at separate times.
Blimey.
With a virus. Yeah, they both had the virus. She got into hospital earlier in the night with Oscar, my 4-year-old now. And then I was looking after my youngest and eldest, and she was due at like a 10 o'clock feed. And she didn't wake up for it, and like she was, on the dot every other time. And I picked her up, and she was like, it was like if you'd have gone and picked something up out that fire pit.
Oh my
like,
goodness!
Absolutely roasting. But I took a baby grow and stuff off, but her feet were like ice cold.
Oh.
I was like, oh no! So like I had to phone her, and she was already in the hospital, obviously. So I didn't go through like 111 or anything. And she spoke to the doctor who was there. They were like, get her in now. I was like, You know, I had to drag him out of bed, drag my eldest one out of bed like midnight, rushed into hospital like panicking. So we were there all night, but I was working from home, so I was up all night.
Oh man.
I had to go back home the next day. Oscar got discharged, so I had to go to work. Like, so I'd been up like 42 hours or something. So I was like pinning my eyes open trying to work. Oh, it's just horrible. And then so she had to stay in hospital then, and like we'd planned for the kids. But it was near Christmas. It was like 4 days before Christmas. The oven broke.
Oh man.
Like the oven broke on us, and then like the day we'd planned to wrap all the presents, someone was going to look after the kids, and that was the day after they ended up in hospital. So it was like been in hospital all night, had to work all night, and that was the only day we had to wrap these presents. Now I didn't organise the presents. Ashley organised the presents. These presents were scattered all over the house, like they were everywhere. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I'd been up by this point, like the best part of 2 days, and I had to go searching around for all the presents. And then they come out of hospital. This was Christmas Eve. Then I got ill with whatever they had.
Oh man.
Right, so I was ill all over Christmas, like really, really ill. And we got to New Year, and like I really struggled with like intense like noise and things like that. Like, not as bad as it used to be, but it was just stress. And this was New Year's Eve, and we'd ordered a takeaway and we sat eating it, and then I thought I was having a heart attack. Like it must have just been it was a panic attack, I think.
Yeah.
And it was just this accumulation of like just intense pressure, but like it was every symptom of a heart attack going, and I thought, this is it. Like I thought I'd gone too far, but yeah, it was just nuts. So that's where it all really started. Like looking back, like it was just so much stress.
Yeah, there's only so much you can deal with.
But we dealt with it for months and months, and like you know, we had a pretty rough year, and then like I say, we got to last year and we just had different interests. Like we both got sort of fell into different interests really. You know, it was tough with 3 kids, and but
who was the brave one and had the conversation?
It was her. It was her. And I said this from day one. Like I respect her so much. Like honest to God, I said this from the start, even though it absolutely broke me. I respected her so much for her reasons, because I couldn't argue against any of her reasons. You know, it all made sense. Obviously, I didn't want it to happen, and I wouldn't do anything to like try and change it or whatever. And you know, in that sense, it was the right thing to do. I didn't see it at the time. I think I went into quite a bad depression last year, because it's just all the what ifs, isn't it? You know, like I didn't know what was going to happen with the kids, and like I didn't know where I was going to be living, and we had to live together for like 8 months.
Oh blimey!
It was hard. So we split up in the May. I didn't move out until, well, then actually I got my flat in October, but it was just a shell, like because like housing association, so you don't get anything in it. So I had to. I didn't move out until like middle of November.
God, that's difficult.
It was hard, yeah. Like doing birthdays and stuff like that was tough. And like we wanted it to be done by Christmas, because that would have been grim. But I did anyway. I did it and got myself set up, and it was just not a nice winter. Really, really like socially isolated myself.
Yeah.
And I realised last year, like, you know, how bad my mental health was, and I tried to do things to improve it. Like I started going on like men's sort of walks and things like that, and then that's when I came across Wilderness Tribe. So I went through like the program there.
But how did you know that? Like you've gone all these years of being probably having some mental health, poor mental health, and then so what was that?
I don't know. I think I'm just really, really like I'm really emotionally aware.
Yeah.
Socially aware as well. Like, but then that's an anxiety thing that I think that links a lot. Being socially aware and being an anxiety. I mean, I don't know whether there's like studies into that, or whether that's a common knowledge. But I think, for me personally, that is a big link, because in the past I would not have sat here and had this conversation, because I think people were listening over the fences. You know, like that's how bad it was. Like people listening to my conversations and stuff. I just hated it. The idea of
why? What?
I don't know. It's just social anxiety.
Right.
That's what it was. Yeah, just social anxiety. But I used to laugh it off. Like, and I look back now, and I've always been like that. But I used to just laugh it off with mates, like, oh, don't worry, it's just my OCD kicking in. But it wasn't. Like, now I know it was.
So have you got OCD? Or
No. Now I know it. Just I don't, because I wasn't aware of all these things, and now I know. It was social anxiety. That's what it was. That's why I hated being in social situations. I couldn't deal with them, so I used to wouldn't talk, or I couldn't be dealing with something that I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to control the situation, but I needed to know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So if we were going out somewhere and I didn't know where we were stopping, for example, like that's not happened, but that sort of thing, I'd have to know where I was going, and what time's the train? How many
Yeah.
minutes have we got to,
Yeah.
to, you know, all that sort of stuff.
Like
I'm
all the
"Oh, it's just
detail.
yeah, but like, oh, it's just my OCD, don't worry. Like, just use the joke off. But yeah, anyway, it all comes from anxiety, and but I've learned to cope with it. And
So you've recognised there's something up with your
Yeah,
mental
yeah.
health. Not sure what. Did you go to the doctors or like? Oh, I've definitely something up. What was your first port of call?
the first thing I realised is because I didn't speak to anybody. So we split up, and I was like, I've got absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
And I mean nobody to turn to. Like, I didn't speak to anyone. So that was where it sort of come from, is because I realised how much I'd socially isolated myself
Right.
over years and years
Yeah.
because I didn't need anyone else. You know what I mean? I was happy because I didn't like talking to people.
Yeah.
So as far as I was concerned, I had my kids and I had like an ex-partner, and that was all I needed. Okay, yeah, things were a bit rough, but I was like content enough to
Yeah.
I'd just let that tick over, like no problem. Whether I was probably not that happy,
Yeah.
but I was comfortable.
I like that. You were content but not happy.
Yeah,
So
probably not. You know, looking back, we will probably both admit that we
Yeah.
weren't happy, but we just let it ride out. This will open up another can of worms. So one of the reasons that she gave me, and I respect her so much for saying it, is that she didn't want to end up like my mum and dad. My mum and dad are together still, and they shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
Like, they just should not be together.
Yeah.
They should have split up 25 years ago.
Just because they
Just-
argue
just
a lot. Or,
drift. Yeah, they don't do anything together. I could not tell you anything that my dad's ever done for my mum.
wow.
Never taken her out anywhere. Doesn't do it. I mean, I don't speak to them anymore really. We fell out a few years ago, but even as a child, never used to take us out. Never used to do anything with us. If we went out, it'd be like because he used to race pigeons. So if we went out, it'd because there was something
Yeah.
at the end of it for him. He'd be either going to like an auction, or he'd be going to like trainers pigeons. You know what I mean? Drop them off and they
Yeah.
fly back. So we'd only ever go anywhere if it was like
If there's something in it for him.
Something in it for him, or we'd go somewhere, like I said, we'd go on holiday, even if it's just like into North Wales, but you'd end up just like at the bookies, like just on the bookies, or just bored, like just not doing anything. Whereas I now, could not be any more polar opposite. I mean, my kids, I've got like a rucksack, and as soon as the kids see the rucksack, they call it the adventure bag, and they know we're going out. Like, and my car is an absolute disgrace. Like, it's just full of all sorts of stuff because I'm prepared for any, like,
Yeah.
where are we going today? Oh, I've got my walking boots in there. There's buckets and spades. There's like crabbing lines. There's picnic blankets.
Just in case.
Camping stove, or, like, you know, chairs, all footballs, everything you can think of. Yeah, just because
You want
I
to.
want them to enjoy
Yeah.
what they do.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you've recognised there's something wrong or something different with your mental health, and you didn't have any mates, basically. You've been
Yeah,
no mates.
Yeah. Exactly that, yeah.
Got to do something
Yeah.
about that. How did you go and make a mate?
I struggled. So the first thing I went on was a men's walk in Peak District.
Okay.
Kinder Scout it was. I went up there with, I don't know, I can't even remember what the group was called. I mean, I stuck it out, but I didn't enjoy it really.
Right.
And then I got into walking by myself.
Okay.
So
That's
that was
not
the
helping
first
with the
thing.
mates,
Didn't
is
help.
it?
Didn't help with the mates, but I really enjoyed going out walking and stuff. But then that's all I did then last summer. But that started off as an escape because I was in
Yeah.
the house and I didn't live there anymore. Effectively, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I knew it was me who was going to have to move out. And I was
Yeah.
in a house that I wasn't particularly wanted in.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so that was hard. So I spent a lot of time last year just camping,
Yeah.
going out. Probably disappeared more than I should have
Yeah.
because I couldn't face being there, and probably, you know, I didn't really connect with the kids as much. Feels like a lifetime ago. It was only last summer,
Yeah.
like 2022. Yeah. So I started that, going out walking, and and that's when I came across Wilderness Tribe then. And even when I did that at first, I didn't take anything from it, but my socialising skills still were exactly the same by the time I got to the end of that. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't really know. I don't really know what the trigger point was of
Yeah.
trying to speak to people. It took a long time. Like, I cut myself off again, like over Christmas, and even early this year, January 5th time, I cut myself off again from everyone. So
Yeah.
you know, we're talking like fairly recently.
Yeah.
Like, people who I know now, like, can't believe the contrast.
Really?
'Cause, but it's just hard work, and like, I've put myself out there and tried to do stuff. You know, like we obviously do the gardening club here, and that's, you know, involves talking to people. And I try and do voluntary work over the summer with Wilderness Tribe, and we've done a couple of festivals and different things like that. So being in the public,
Yeah. Yeah.
I just enjoy it now. I just like talking
It's
to people.
amazing.
I just like talking to people. Yeah.
So you actually like
I
talking to
actually
people now?
I enjoy talking to people.
Did you ever think you'd say that?
You see I got a shiver up my spine as I said it. My body's like, don't say that. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I enjoy getting to know people and talk to people, but that's because I'm in a position where I can. In the past, my brain was probably that full of other stuff that I couldn't face anybody else's, like, even just a basic conversation. I just couldn't speak to people.
Hey, were you thinking in your head, like, they might not like me, they might not like what is
that?
that? Is it that?
And even
negative?
that still happens now. Like, that still happens now because that's the social anxiety. But like, I'm just learning to deal with it and learning. You know.
So is it like a little voice in your head saying?
I think it's a fear of being judged. That's a big thing for me.
Okay.
I think it's a fear of being judged, but then I suppose everybody has that in a way. Whether it comes out or not, I don't know. Everybody sort of wants to be liked, don't they? But then, I don't know, it's really hard to pinpoint. I'm quite complicated, really. My brain just goes like a whirlwind. Yeah, it just takes me on this mad adventure. But
so even now, you're still getting these, like, negative thoughts and that, but you're kind of overriding them.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing positive things. Like, I do so much now. I've been out of work over the summer. I lost my job earlier this year, and obviously at the time it was horrible, but it's the best thing that could have happened.
It was not the bookies you'd left?
No, that was long. Yeah, so, I've had a couple of jobs in between there. So I worked for a housing association working from home, and that's when, like, all the stuff happened with, like, the kids going to hospital and things. I enjoyed the job, did not get on really particularly well with the people I worked with. I worked from home for 12 months and I hadn't met anyone because it was during COVID.
Yeah, weird times.
I think we should just leave. I think we'll skip those 2 years because that was not a good 2 years. Yeah, not great. But then I had to start going back to the office, and they were like, "You'll be able to come in 1 day a week, no problem." And I got round to it, and it was like 2 to 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And it was in Oldham, and I was in Chester, and like there was days where it took me like 4.5 hours to get home and things like that. I was like, I can't do this. So I got another job for a family-run company. Not horrible. Yeah. Just horrible. Obviously, I was on really good money, to be honest. Way overpaid for the job that I did.
Yeah.
I'm happy to admit that. way overpaid. So I was never going to leave it effectively. So I just had to stick it out. But then they got rid of me earlier this year, and they basically managed me out.
Right.
Because there was people coming in, and at the time, obviously, I was panicking because I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
But I have had one of the best summers that I've ever had, and I've got a new job. I started last week. And I absolutely love it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I've had this conversation before with people, and people say, "Oh, they enjoy work," and I've never enjoyed the job ever. But I've only been here for a couple of weeks, but like.
And what are you doing?
So I work in the Canal and River Trust now. It's just doing customer support.
Okay.
But it's just nice. Like,
it's because you're talking to people. And you like people now.
So the job is actually going to be working from home.
Okay.
Meant to be 4 days a week, 1 day in the office. But I've said that I'm going to go in the office 4 days a week and work from home 1. Because I don't want to start working from home now in the winter and end up back where I was last winter.
You have totally done a total transformation, haven't you?
I met the CEO the other day. I was talking to the CEO.
It's like, I want to be around people now.
And it's because it's only a fixed term contract till May. I'm going to do absolutely everything I can to speak to as many people as I can to try and stay employed. I said to someone, "There's a bench outside on the canal." And I was like, "That's my bench. That's going to be my bench for a long time." She was like, "I love that attitude." I've been out there I've got there early in the morning, not today because it was bouncing down. But I've had my lunch outside, and nobody else does it. I sit outside next to the canal.
Yeah, nice.
It's just enjoying listening to the water trickling by, basically.
Wow. And what about, have there been any periods, I'm guessing recently, but it might not be, where people have like done things that have been kind?
I don't really know. It's hard to. I suppose, yeah. Maybe not with like in gestures in such a way, but just by being friendly, and people never used to be. Do you know what I mean? But then that was probably because of how I came across to other people.
Yeah.
So even being took on in this job, I was honest and told them, how I'd lost my last job, and she was like, you didn't have to tell me that, and I was happy to take a gamble and things like that. And that to me is like an act of kindness, because you could have picked something, they could have gone, "Oh well, he had his contract terminated, his last job, we won't trust him."
Yeah.
But because I was honest and told them exactly what happened, gave them examples of the things what they said, and they were like, "Oh, that's sort of nothing."
Yeah.
They were kind enough to take a gamble on me, so
that's really good.
Off, but like Wilderness Tribe, nobody could have helped me any more than how oh, okay, I've helped myself. You know, that's what I'd get told. But you know, they've enabled that to happen.
Yeah.
By obviously the program. So even just setting the program up to start with, you know, it's worked, hasn't it? And now I do this, and you know, they've let me help volunteer and things like that. And you know, to me, that's a privilege to be trusted to be able to do stuff.
It's an opportunity to repay that kindness with your own kindness, because volunteering is a kindness in itself.
I was thinking about this today actually, and like I've done bits of volunteering and things over time, and you do it for a bit of like self-gratitude, and that's what I've always done it.
Yeah.
You know,
well done me. What a nice human.
And like, but again, like I was a different person then. So like I signed up to the Royal Voluntary Service, I think it is, during COVID.
Yeah.
Like people were horrible. Like really horrible.
Really?
You know, you go around shops getting shopping for people, prescriptions, standing queues for like an hour getting prescriptions, and I dropped stuff off. People never even said thanks when you gave it to them. Honest to God, yeah, like insane. But like I used to do bits of stuff at the food bank, and you know, just raise a bit of money or do food collections. But you were doing it like for yourself. Like I wasn't. Yeah, you're doing it to help other people, obviously, but it's like so you can say, oh yeah, I've done that. Whereas the stuff I do with these, I don't do it for that reason. Like that's a long one. Like I do it because I enjoy being here. Like I enjoy being in this garden. Like I enjoy seeing people enjoying themselves. It's not for myself. Like I do it because like I'd be here anyway.
Yeah.
So it's nice now to be able to like be sort of a bit of support for other people if they need it, and it's not the same as I don't know that's coming across right.
Yeah, I think that's the magic of kindness though. By helping someone else, you're getting a buzzy feeling oh. So even the volunteering and whatever else, the whole point of kindness is that by doing it you get something out of it as well.
Yeah.
And there's evidence to say that you get endorphins but just that feeling when you get it a bit, you're like, I want more of it. It's like it's addictive, and it's like, well, what an addiction.
But for the right reasons.
But
for the right
an
reasons,
addiction of being kind. I like that.
But for the right reasons. Whereas I've done volunteering in the past for the wrong reasons, which is
because it's about
like a false kick.
You want people to like you.
Yeah.
And your anxiety saying people don't like me. Oh, I'll go and do this, and that's a nice thing to do.
You're doing it so you can say, oh yeah, do you know what, I did this.
Yeah.
I don't need to talk. Like I don't necessarily need to talk about the stuff that I do now because I'm just a part of a group, part of a tribe as such as that's how you put it in. I'm just part of a group with everybody who's who's experienced similar things, or even if they haven't experienced similar things, you're just a group who you can turn to, and you know. And there's no judgment, and you can connect and do things outdoors. And like I've got mates now that have come from it, and a couple of mates outside. I've reconnected with old friends, to be fair, like which I never dreamt of doing.
That's brilliant.
But like last year, I did a lot of walking and stuff, and I went on group walks and things. And again, like I was in a different place still, and like I just didn't like people.
Yeah.
just group walking just was not my thing at all. I just didn't enjoy it. But I got to the point where like I really fell in love with going on these like mad hikes of like stupid distances, like 20 miles, 25 miles, like, and I just walk all day without stopping, and like, and again that was just a blank stuff out, I think. And then got to the point where like I was walking thinking, I don't want to go back from this walk, as in I've had enough. You know what I mean? Like it was not a nice place to be, but so like I fell out all over with that, because then I was scared to go out, thinking, well, your brain's telling you to not make it back to your car, and
and have there been times where you're like, I can't go back, I'm going to keep going, like?
Well, yeah, and like last year I got to the point where like I was ready to end it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's quite scary actually, and I remember exactly the first time the thought popped into my head, and I like left it off as if to say, why's that like popped into your head? That's not the type of thing you ever think about. And I remember, I can tell you exactly where I was.
Where exactly
I was driving in my car over the bridge coming out of Bleakin, the canal bridge, and I don't know what it was. It just like that.
And did that progress then, or was it just
and then I think so. Yeah, and then got worse and worse and worse. And it was in that pressure cooker of like being in the house with the kids and new baby and living with my ex-partner, and it was just all this like insane pressure. I'd not long started the job that I'd lost. Obviously, like I wasn't good, so like I thought I was like having a fresh start close to home, and then it all just went like boom. Do you know what I mean? All out the window. But yeah, it got to the point where like I took my kids out separately, like over the course of a week. So we went to Wepper Park, and we were just sat on the riverbed because the river was low in the summer, and like we read some books and we had a picnic. But I did it separately with them, like because I was ready to just that was it. Like,
as if that was you say
goodbye. I was preparing for it, like, and I didn't really know I was going to do it, but like I was like saying bye to people. Yeah.
And so what stopped you?
Genuinely, someone rode past me on a bike, and that was the reason. That was I was on a bridge, and somebody.
Oh wow! So
seen
you were
a bike
actually on
coming.
a
Yeah.
bridge gonna jump?
And
Or?
my thought was, I could not let somebody. I knew he. I mean, I was on the bridge in tears and stuff. So if he was coming over the bridge, so there's no way, late. There's no way they'd ridden past. But then at the same time, I couldn't have faced having the conversation with him because the anxiety wouldn't have allowed me to have that conversation. So I seen him coming, and I went and got back in the car. And honestly, that was it.
So you'd actually planned it. You said your goodbyes. You were on a bridge.
I was
gonna
ready
jump
to do it,
over.
Yeah.
Blimey.
I know. No matter how much building up to it, are you trying to think to yourself, "Oh, stop being stupid." Because like I said, I am emotionally aware, so I'd be like, "Why is that?" It just the next time the thought comes into your head, it'd be a little bit more intense.
Yeah.
And then the next time, and then you'd be all right for maybe a few days, and then the next time it'd be a little bit more intense, and then I didn't speak to anyone. I was I was in a new place on my own. I didn't have any money. It was freezing, it was so cold, my flat where I live is really cold, so I couldn't afford to have the heating on, this made it worse, so I started work at 6:30 in the morning, finished at 2:30, so by the time anybody who I might have known was finishing work, I'd been home for 3 hours, so I was sort of ready for bed, you know what I mean,
that's my
6
tea,
o'clock, that's it, so I was having my tea at 4 o'clock, because I'd been home by that point for an hour and a half, and so then by the time it got to so honestly, sometimes in the winter, 6:30, well, it's pitch black. I'm absolutely freezing. I've got nothing to do. I'm going to bed. I might be going to bed at stupid times like that.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah.
So you've managed to, thankfully, not to jump.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, and it was
so
just that one guy on a bike that came past, and I just I moved.
And what changed from that? Did you want to still do it, or was it? No, that was a lucky escape.
I can't really remember a lot. I think I spoke to my ex-partner about it. It might have been around the same time that Wilderness Tribe started something back up, so I was able to get out and do something, I could go and coming back to these was something that I'm not anxious about, because you're just part of a community, that's a big thing, isn't it?
The door's always open, the gates in this instance.
And there's no judgment or anything, and
okay,
it wasn't here, it was in the woodland, but you go and sit in the woods with a brew and the fire on, and you could talk if you wanted to. But what was good about it in the winter is that you have a group of people sat down and the fire would be on, so even if you was talking, you didn't have to, there was never any eye contact because it was dark, and you could just stare at the fire and talk and things.
So did you tell some of them about your experience?
I don't know if I ever spoke about that, to be honest. I don't know if I ever did, but I spoke about other things that obviously helped to deal with that.
Yeah.
But that's the worst I ever got, and like I say, it was just sort of a one-off in a way. But even, I appreciate now how people get to that point, whereas in the past I would never have again.
And in that moment, and you don't have to answer this, I'm just asking the questions, and I'm really lucky with mental health. I've never been in that position. Did you not think about your kids?
I thought it'd be better off without me though.
Did you? Why?
I don't know. I just didn't think I'd be able to, because Ashley was always the day-to-day mum, and I was good at the days out, and I didn't think I'd be able to cope with them. Knowing then that they were going to be coming to me on their own, obviously, because I was living. I just didn't think I'd be able to do it. I just didn't. And to be honest, I still don't really. I still blag it, blue doesn't.
Exactly, that is parenthood.
It's all stressful and stuff. I just didn't think I'd be able to deal with it.
Wow.
I just didn't.
Those days out are the fun bits, aren't they, of life? The memories, you don't remember the getting up for school every day. Well, you've said the whole 2 years of your college life are gone.
But I just don't want my kids to, when they grow up, and I've said this before, I don't want them to grow up with my anxieties.
Yeah.
Or anxieties are passed on to people, it's easy to do, If you're scared of crossing the road and you hesitate when you're holding your kids' hands across the road, then as they get older, they're going to be scared of crossing the road and get hesitant crossing the road. Those anxieties get passed on. And that's just, it's not me, but that's just an example. I don't want my kids to have my anxieties.
And in terms of because you seem to be in a really good place now. How do you protect that? What are you putting in place to make sure that you don't slip down back into gambling, back into the negative thoughts, winning?
So obviously, I'm in a job that at the minute I really enjoy. So even like I was saying before, I get there a little bit earlier and I'll have a brew outside by the canal and just take in what's around me, really. Not necessarily meditating, but I suppose it is a form, isn't it? You know, listening to the water. And I was sat there yesterday and a heron landed in front of me, so that was like made my day. I just love stuff like that, and then, you know, I do stuff with the kids with Wilderness Tribe, so we go to like family cooking, so they get to do a little bit of what I do. So Callum really loves, like, because he can say he's part of a tribe and he absolutely loves that, so that's good. So I'm busy with that, and then I've started playing football again, just like 5-a-side, but I've been able to do that because my hours have changed in work, and, you know, so it's a bit better, a bit more sociable.
It's another connection, isn't it? It's
Yeah. So again, that's with people who I've not spoken to for a long time.
Yeah.
I can just get out and do that, and then, you know, I take my kids to the football. Like, we go and watch Chester. They're Chester fans, so we go and watch the football. Still do the fire circle with Wilderness Tribe. Come here on a Wednesday, do this. Kids come round on a Thursday, and then they come round every other weekend to stay. So I'm just busy all the time, like, but not stressful busy.
Yeah, that's
like
good.
You know, like I've been out the house since sort of 8:15 this morning. Won't get home tonight until probably like 8:30, 8:45. But it's not draining. Like, it's not. It's not like, you know, earlier in the year I had to take a second job because I was skint, and that. Oh, I mean, that was hard work. Because you don't want to be there, do you? So it drains you before you even step through the door. Whereas what I'm doing now, like, where I'm out all day and I'm doing dead long days and stuff, but I enjoy every second of it. Like,
well, that's great.
It's good.
And so we always ask people to do a little summary of kindness. So, like, from your experiences, what could other people do to have helped along the way?
I suppose you know, think about how other people are feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and how you come across to other people. And it, I don't know really. I mean, I suppose always just being a bit self-aware, a bit more conscious of what other people might be going through.
Yeah.
Before you like pass judgment and things. You know, everybody's judgmental, but I used to be horrendous. But again, that comes from like a fear of me being judged myself. Do you know what I mean? So it's the same thing. But
I like that one. So there's something there around recognise that you're just seeing the person as they are today, and you don't know what's come before.
Yeah.
Try not to judge.
Yeah.
We all need to constantly work at
that.
Yeah,
you do. Yeah, no, it just happens all the time, doesn't it? It's just it's like human nature, isn't it? It's just, you know, to make a judgment on people, but you shouldn't really, and I've learned not to.
Yeah. And anything else that we can do as a society, as humans, that would have made your journey easier?
I don't know really. It's really hard to say because I cut myself off.
Yeah. You made it hard for you made it hard for people to penetrate.
Yeah. So even if anyone would have tried, I wouldn't have let them in. So then people might have tried. This is what I mean. So I struggle to think of any examples because people may well have tried to be kind to me over the years. But I didn't. I would not have let them in to do it.
Well, there's a little challenge for you. Let people be kind.
Let people be kind.
It's hard. It's hard. It's much easier to do an act of kindness than to receive one. Yeah. There's your little challenge. But the other thing I'd say that you've talked about in terms of the kindness summary is the way that you're taking time for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important, the way that you get into work a little bit early and just having a cup of tea that's you and your time, listening to the water. Because that, in terms of your headspace, puts you in a better frame of mind to then go and do the things that take you out of your comfort zone.
So, like, by being kind to yourself, isn't it? Being kind. So by being, like we were saying before, about not doing it for the wrong reasons. Yeah. But because I now know how to be kind to myself, I can be kind to other people without really ever thinking about it. Yeah. Whereas I used to force myself to be kind to other people because I thought.
And do you still have those thoughts? You're just better at it, like the negativity and people are listening and people are judging.
No, not really. Well, I mean, yeah, to a point, but like, so like for example, like in this job now, you know, I have to take calls and stuff like that, and in my job a couple of times ago, like I wouldn't do it. I'd go to work and I would avoid taking a phone call, like at all costs. And I've just thrown myself in.
It's brilliant.
Brilliant. I spoke to a friend a few weeks ago and she was like, "Wow, you sound really positive." And like, I've always had everyone's always perceived me as being like this grumpy old man.
Yeah. So actually, can we have one here as the kindness summary? Be positive.
Be positive.
Be positive. Is that an act of kindness?
It's hard work. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, worked hard to get to where I am now. Like,
And do you know what? I'm not going to lie. I had a little sleep before I came here. I felt really exhausted, so I was kind to myself. A little half-hour nap, a little power nap. That's a self-kindness. And some days you just have to acknowledge that I'm just going to be a grumpy arse today.
Yeah. But it's okay to be like that sometimes. Whereas I was like that 99% of the day. But no, it takes a lot of hard work. But being positive, being kind to yourself. It's everything really.
Yeah.
Just those little. I live by that now. Is one of the things. Just live by the little moments. Like, you don't have to make big plans.
I like that.
Doesn't have to be a big plan. If you've got 10 minutes, take 5 minutes to go and stand outside and look at the clouds go past. Do you know what I mean? Like, just
I love it.
Connect with something.
Yeah.
For me, it's my kids and being outdoors.
Yeah.
Like, that's my, being near water. I love being near water. Like, that's my connection. I love just being near water.
Yeah.
But that's me being kind to myself. Yeah.
It is brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time.
No problem.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same, good.
It's I love people's stories. Everyone's got but I love the fact that yours has got a positive phase at the moment, and there's going to be shit happen. It's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
But if you've got these tools now to go into that, then you're in a much better position than you were during the COVID years that we will never mention again. So thank you.
No problem. I've enjoyed it. It's definitely out of my comfort zone. But
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. It was lovely to have you. Can I just say a massive thank you to all the people that we've interviewed who have been so honest and vulnerable with me so that we can have these real life stories to share with you, our wonderful listener. And remember, we'd love to hear what random or small acts of kindness you've been up to so that we can maybe do a few. Find us on all the socials, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and all our /ActsGB, that's ACTSGB. And drop a comment on our feed, tweet us, or even send a photo. Let's build our kindness community together. We'll read some of our favourites on future episodes of Curious Chats and Kind Acts. And you never know, we might even have a go at a few of your ideas ourselves. Watch this space on the socials. For more information about the Acts charity, including how to donate to us, head to actsonline.uk. See you next time!